bring in now on the programme Luliia Mendel. She's a former spokesperson for the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky. It's a role she held until last year. Thank you for finding the time to speak to us today on France 24. Can I just ask you, first of all, about that breaking news that this television tower in Kyiv has apparently been hit? Are you aware of that? And are you aware, as somebody who's currently in the country, whether state broadcasting has been affected?
Yes, of course, I've heard this news already because we are constantly glued to our televisions and to the internet. We are trying to verify the information. And of course, this is the true story, unfortunately. But up to now, we have our television on, thanks God, because our major televisions have united to provide the information together with the capacities that all of these channels have. So it's easier to verify the information, to get the sources, and to tell the information from different regions of Ukraine. Of course, this will damage the part of information. And this says a very important thing. You know, Russia fully censored their society. Russia is fighting against internet and, of course, against free television. And in Ukraine, which is a territory of freedom on post-Soviet Union, he cannot have that much influence. He cannot censor our country, and the disinformation here does not work that well as he wanted. So that's why, of course, he uses bombs and shelling against broadcasters.
And you're speaking to us, as I understand it, Luliia, from the western city of Lviv. It is thought to be relatively safe, at least compared to the capital. Tell us a bit about what life is like for you right now.
Thank you for asking this. And you are actually absolutely correct about saying that it is relatively safe. In fact, Russia, in the first day of its attack, showed that it can target any region of the country. So in the first day of invasion, Russia targeted 16 regions of Ukraine of 25, and 3 of them were very western regions. So when you live in Lviv, which is relatively safe, you hear constantly the air alerts, because our security, of course, is looking forward about different moves in the sky. But also there are a lot of checkpoints around the country. Some of the checkpoints are made by the servicemen and National Guard of Ukraine, but some of them are, as I call them, handmade. But they are really secure checkpoints. They are made by ordinary men. In the first day of invasion, President Zelensky allowed Ukrainians who want to defend their country to get free rifles. So we have a lot of territorial defense units, and these are common men who want to defend their country, their towns, their villages, their wives and kids. So they also make checkpoints and try to defend the country. Life here is relatively okay, but we have sometimes shortage of provision. All the shops and many services are closed. The military uniform is popular, and of course we hear air alerts, and we see the military helicopters flying. And of course, we understand that there is a lot of military equipment and techniques that is moving around the country, in major case to help Kyiv defend itself, but also to help defend other territories of the country.
And Luliia, does all of that make you consider leaving Ukraine?
As for me and my fiance, we decided to stay in the country as to the very end, because we actually dream of returning back to Kyiv. We left it because we understood that we can do something when we are out of this big risk, and then we don't need to hide in the bomb shelters every moment. Right now, my concerns are mostly about my family, my parents, my aunt, my cousin, his 3 kids. All of them are in the south region, and all of them are surrounded, and we see how Russian military is walking on the streets. And we see that the biggest mall is on fire, and they are targeting schools and residential houses. This is a disaster and a war crime that must end.
And you are the former spokesperson for Zelensky, for the president. So I suppose you're in a better position than most people to help us get inside the mindset of an individual who's become something of a hero. I mean, certainly in Ukraine, but I think in other countries as well. We understand the United States offered him help out of Kyiv when the war started. He said he wanted to stay. Is it your understanding that he will probably stay in Kyiv now, no matter what?
You know, Volodymyr Zelensky has also always represented himself as a leader. And when we talk about the leader, one of the magic characteristics is that he wants to stay nearby his people. When I've heard about this really kind gesture of the United States to offer Volodymyr Zelensky to evacuate from the city, I knew that it wouldn't happen. And President Zelensky was traveling to Donbass very often during my 2 years of working for him. For 3 years, he's been there like from 35 to 40 times, I guess. And he never avoided going to the zones of risks. When, for instance, there was some kind of shelling from Russian side, he was joining soldiers. And even his security didn't allow him to do that. He said, well, there are our soldiers sitting there when it's shelling. So why would I run away? I'm not a coward. So this is some part of his character, that he really wants to stay with people. And when people are there, they think that if to suffer, then, we all need to struggle all together. Also, he is a very hardworking person. And when we had the moments of crisis, he showed already that he can work 24/7 around the clock. And that's exactly what I see right now. I think that president is showing like an amazing leadership, and the price of people and respect of people all over the country is rising constantly.
And he's been calling for a no-fly zone over Ukraine. I see that's something that you also would like to see. But do you appreciate, however, because of the American fears of the chance of an actual war between US forces and Russia, that unfortunately, for you at least, that remains extremely unlikely?
You see, many things that are happening now, we couldn't believe that they could happen even a week ago. Who could ever thought that, for instance, Germany could suspend Nord Stream 2, or Germany would provide the military equipment to Ukraine, or that the world would sanction the central bank of Russia or ban Russia from SWIFT system. These are the amazing things that are happening right now, and we believe that it is possible to get no-fly zone. You see, Russia has a big superiority because of airspace, so that there won't be any chance that Russia could get to Kyiv so fast as it did in 2 days, just because it could fly over Ukraine. And here is a very important note. People are afraid that there will be the World War III. The issue is, if Putin is not stopped in Ukraine, where is the chance that the World War III won't start? Poland, Moldova, and Baltic states understand for sure that if Putin doesn't stop in Ukraine, he would follow up. And they are really afraid that they will be the next targets. So the issue is how many Ukrainians need to die, that the world understands that we really need this no-fly zone.